Wonderful.
Okay, well, thanks for coming along. The board of the Richmond Football Club is pleased to announce that it's secured the services of Terry Wallace as senior coach of this football club, and he'll commence on the 1st of October at the end of the year. Terry's just detailed a presentation to the board, and we certainly agree with his evaluation of our list and his long-term plan for the future building of our team and the promotion of this football club. We know there's no short-term fix in football, and therefore we've offered a 5-year contract that's been agreed with Terry and his management, and the board will provide the support and security for Terry to recruit and build a strong team that's going to produce some consistent performances for this footy club. Before we take any questions, I know Terry's got a few things he'd like to say, so...
Thanks very much, Clinton. Firstly, I'd just like to say that I'm honoured that the Richmond Football Club's given me the opportunity to take it forward into a new era. I know and understand that it's been a difficult time for all Tiger supporters and members. All I would like to say is that I'll be doing everything within my power to develop a winning culture back to the Richmond Football Club, getting it back to where it thoroughly deserves to be. It's a coaching contract, and we all know what they're about, Tony. I mean, obviously it's been difficult times for some of the senior coaches over the duration of this year, and you know, I know and acknowledge what that public scrutiny is like, and obviously that was one of the things I had to get right in my own mind, whether I wanted to go back into that public forum. But I just felt like there was unfinished business for myself, things that I hadn't achieved as a coach, and the Richmond Football Club gave me that opportunity.
What were the main things, Terry, that swayed you between the other options that you had?
Well, there are a lot of things. I mean, certainly, you know, looking at the positives of Richmond, certainly, I'm going to say that the efforts of both Clinton and Greg and their professionalism in the way they approached all meetings that were conducted over a period of time, that made me super enthusiastic. I'm really hoping that that there can become some stability within the Richmond Footy Club. I mean, it's one thing that over a long period of time, and you know, whether I wore my media hat from the past, but we've all known that that's been something that the club hasn't been able to achieve, and I'm just hoping that can come into process. Obviously, we're all dreamers to a point of view. I mean, I've wanted to, you know, make it work for all the right reasons and make the decisions for all the right reasons, using your head, not your heart. But we're all dreamers, and I just thought that this football club was a club that has just such a huge capacity to be one of the real strengths of the competition. And we've all sort of gone along to games when they have been up and seen how they can draw a regular 50,000 plus crowd to the MCG, and I just thought it was time for that to come back again. And you know, I suppose I'm dreaming that I can do that. I believe that I can you know, change the culture and the way that the Richmond people are feeling about their footy club, and that was probably one of the major reasons.
When did you come to the decision, Terry? When was it finally decided?
Well, it's been a long decision-making process for a lot of reasons. I've probably been a little bit disappointed with the accusations that it was done and dusted some time ago, and I spoke to both Hawthorn, Jason Dunstall and Greg last evening, and told them of where I sat with my decisions. I had a media commitment with 3AW last night. I didn't want to go in there and be telling lies about where I sat, so I waited until after that particular meeting to speak to both clubs.
Was it a tough decision? Was it you sort of wavering between the two clubs?
Well, it's a massively tough decision. I mean, you're sitting there with a background, as I said to the gentleman on both sides. For me, in the Richmond scenario, firstly, I've spent my time at three football clubs through my playing career. I'm a life member at two of them. The only one that I didn't really achieve what I was trying to achieve at that particular club was the Richmond Footy Club. So what I'd like to think is I'd like to hope that somewhere along the track I can become a life member of the Richmond Football Club, and for all the reasons that I came here way back in 1987, that some of the dreams that I had on the first day that I actually walked into Punt Road, that some of those dreams might be able to be realised down the track a little bit. But then you have a look at the other side of the coin, and I am a life member. I had some of my best times at the Hawthorn Football Club. I just felt that the pathway that Richmond and the people around Richmond had allowed me to take was the way to go. I suppose from a Hawthorn scenario, and I want to speak more about Richmond than obviously Hawthorn, but I just didn't think the EGM pathway was the right way to go. I thought that there was an ability at Richmond to allow a smooth transition for me to be able to take on the role, and that was significant in the final decision making. It just became a situation whereby I would have only been going for my heart, and I didn't think the right reasons, and I just thought it was a little bit cloudy.
Terry, Kevin Bartlett said last night that the Hawthorn exercise was a charade. What's your response to that?
Well, I've got to say I was very disappointed with that, and if I was a different sort of person, I got an email on Thursday evening from the man on my left, Greg, who was rather concerned about where things are. I'm not one who puts emails out for general consumption, so I wouldn't do that, but it was well and truly anything bar done and finished with, and I've got to say that I appreciated everything that Hawthorn presented to me. We never got to the terms of agreements or anything like that with Hawthorn, because there was just roadblocks in the way that didn't allow it to get that far eventually. And I had spent the weekend, I suppose, agonising over the decision. Once you've made the decision, it becomes a lot clearer, and I think that's where I'm sitting today. I'm absolutely comfortable with where I'm at and the decision and the path ahead. It's going to be a long and difficult pathway. Obviously, the club hasn't enjoyed success this year, but I'm sure that can turn.
It's a possibility, Terry, that there's going to be an election at this football club. Do you support Clinton Casey in that, or do you distance yourself from that?
Well, I'm a football coach, and I've got to deal with getting this club to win games of football, and I think that's where I sit. As I said at the start, I'm hoping for stability within this footy club. That's what I'm hoping for, and how that stability is formulated is not my decision. I mean, that's the decision for others, but that's the one thing that I think that all Richmond people are actually crying out for, that it's not their football club that's on the back pages for the wrong reasons, and hopefully this is the first time we might be able to make the back page for the right reasons, and now from now on end going forward that's the case. I was just very, very pleased that with Brian Wood coming on, being able to give me the assurances alongside of Greg and Clinton that the pathway was clear to be able to make a clear and precise decision.
Clinton, Brian committed for 5 years. What feeling there?
Well, it was the recommendation of the subcommittee. It was the recommendation that Greg had put through to the board. He had a lot of reasons as to why he thought that was important, and at the end of the day, the board agreed.
Greg, can you talk about that?
Well, certainly I've discussed it with Terry right from the start. We talked about the length of time it would take to get the club back where it belongs. So it's just a time that we believe it'll take to get the job done.
Can I just add one thing to that as well? From my aspect of it, I believe in a winning culture, and from my time coaching, I've had 11 years coaching, and 9 of them have been finals. I expect and demand of the people that are involved with the footy club that we try to get it right as quickly as what we possibly can. I think that if you're looking at sustained premiership success, that takes a period of time, and we've seen with the system the way it is at the moment, that it is there's no easy track around it. I mean, the days are gone where you can go out and buy 6 players and just change your list dramatically. So it is a development phase that's necessary, and you don't want to get your eyes off the ball and be making decisions for the wrong reasons, not the right reasons. But in saying all that, we want to develop a winning culture from day one.
What's your support structure, Terry? Do you know yet?
No, look, it's the one thing that there was a lot of rumour and innuendo about that I would be wanting to bring all my own team with me. I'm not that way inclined. If you have a look at my past history, I've never had an ex-teammate sitting alongside of me. I've just always tried to go out and get the right people. All my assistant coaches at the Western Bulldogs, I didn't know them prior to them being appointed. I just got who I thought was the right people at the right time, and I just think that that's the way that you should go about things, and I'll be doing exactly that with Greg, and we'll be just working through the process of who's here, what's working, what we believe isn't, and what decisions need to be made from there.
Clinton, you've said you want to continue as president. Do you think the signing of Terry as John Alley and Dennis Pagan might help placate members?
Look, the important thing for the football club was that we got the very best coach available, and it's a credit to, I think, the work that Greg Miller and the subcommittee have put in. I have no doubt that the list of attributes that we were looking for in a senior coach we've been able to secure in Terry, and we're just delighted in the work that's been done. I'm sure the members will be as well, and if that can transform into some on-field success, then everybody's the winner. So we're just delighted with today's outcome.
Sorry, but do you think it will help you stay on as president?
I'm not sure. Look, at the end of the day, Mark, that'll be a decision for the members if it gets to that at the end of the year.
How long will it take, Terry, to get Richmond back into the top 8?
I'm not going to give you a time frame. I don't think that's fair and reasonable. Let me at least have a look. I mean, obviously, I've been looking at all the clubs that were in a situation where their coaches were not going to be around next year. So I've had a very close look at the list, but let me get in, let me work through a system of who's going to stay and who's going to go. Let's see what we can do, where we finish over the next 3 weeks. Let's have a look at the trade period, and then I might be able to give you a firmer answer on that. Until you know what sort of list you're going to be working with next year, it's very difficult to predict the future.
How did you believe Richmond's list compared to Hawthorn's as they stand at the moment?
Well, they stand 15th and 16th in the AFL competition, and I think that look, the reality of this competition is that the best over 22 rounds, the best come through. There are some reasons why things don't go the way that you would like them to go. I think that if we look at since round 5, I think there's only been one change in the top 8. So it does settle. You look at Melbourne last year, couldn't buy a game in the last 10 rounds of the season, and have a look at how they've turned their fortunes around. Sometimes there are circumstances which make things difficult. I didn't think there was a lot of difference between the list. If you're looking at a long-term sustainable objectives as a coach, unless there is a huge margin between the two, I didn't pick it on list structure. Obviously I looked at those things, but it wasn't necessarily there. One of the real pleasing things for me was just the situation with the younger players at this football club at the moment. I think that the club's done a good job in getting some of those players to the football club. What it'll be my responsibility is making sure that those blokes don't get ahead of themselves, and that they understand that there are huge responsibilities on their shoulders to make the grade.
I wanted to clarify something, Terry. Did you say before you didn't entertain Hawthorn because of the political faction, Don Scott background?
Well, what I did say was that they could not assure a clear passage through to me being able to take on the job, that there may be some EGM, or there may be some sort of situation there that wasn't clear. And so once I went through that, and I suppose my heart was sort of thinking, well, could there be a fairy tale story that has you finish back where you started your football? But once I sort of went through the whole process clearly, I thought the decision was fairly comfortable that was the way that I needed to go. And to answer your question, that was a key factor in me not going to the Hawthorn.
It's going to be a smooth transition. How's it going to be a smooth transition, Clinton, if you want to continue as president next year? We're going to have an election in the next couple of months.
Every club, Mark, every club has an AGM at the end of the year. Every club has directors go up for election every year. So there's always going to be changes in football clubs. I mean, there's no question about that. I think what Terry's talking about is EGMs, when you can put down 100 votes and blow the place up and have an interim period of time through a crucial stage where there is no board in place. You can't make crucial decisions like getting a coach, like going through the trade and the draft period. So that's not going to be the case with us. But sure, we're going to have an election, and we'll have that at the appropriate time.
Greg, your 5-year plan,
patient or not? Copper.
I guess I've heard that comment before. I didn't say a 5-year plan, it's a 5-year appointment. No, I guess that's, you're right, we've been asked that question many times, but the supporters have heard it for the last 25 years. And as Terry said, we're already into the development stage. Our youngsters in the last 2 drafts have performed pretty well. So, no, I don't look at it as a 5-year plan, it's a 5-year appointment, and that sort of stability is what is actually paramount at a football club.
Terry, in regards to Richmond, what do you do until October 1? I take it you don't just sit back and do media work and nothing else. What sort of preparatory work will you do?
Well, I mean, obviously I'll be working behind the scenes and getting myself ready. A lot of work with Greg just in relation to where we sort of stand coming into a trade and draft period. I suppose list selection, and I suppose we'll have many discussions re-staffing and where everything sits in relation to that. What is paramount is that there is a respect for Danny Frawley to do his job. I won't be around the scenes here. I won't be behind the scenes. I won't be, as suggested in some media outlets, sitting in the box or anything like that. I have enormous respect for any of the 16 coaches that get to this level. And okay, things haven't worked out exactly the way that Danny would have liked them for him, but I have enormous respect for him, and I have nothing but the intent to let him get on with his job and finish his job in the manner that he's done it, especially since the announcement. And there hasn't been a drop-off for the Richmond Football Club. We talk about a winning culture. They haven't been able to win games, but at least they've been competitive. I mean, I've so often in our times have we seen sides that just completely fall away and become just an absolute shambles towards the end. I'm hoping that the club can win games and that they can start that winning culture. If that's not the way that it is, at least let them get on with their job to the best of their abilities.
Greg, when did you first offer Terry the job?
Probably came to the conclusion after interviewing 2 candidates and speaking to a third that Terry was the right person. Met him with David Parkin first and then with Clinton. And probably after the second meeting, I was sure, after meeting his family as well, that he was the right person to coach the club, which was probably 3 weeks ago, Michael.
And did he give you any answer then?
No, not at all. I think just to reiterate what he said, the angst that I've been through and the different things we've tried to put in place, particularly since last Thursday, when I was concerned that 4 hours with Hawthorn was a long time, and I went through. I just tried everything we could behind the scenes to make sure Terry did coach us, and as he said, he told me last night at about 9 o'clock.
Was the 5 years on the table from that 3 weeks ago, or is that something?
Yeah, it was pretty much agreed the whole time, Chip. I think it was really a point of discussion we had.
Yep.
We thought it was both the right way to go.
Did you up the ante Thursday night?
No,
with the contract or anything?
No, not at all. Matter of fact, the financial side of it was, which is obviously confidential. I'm sure you'll all have your guesses, but the financial side of it was done in half an hour this morning, and that's all it took. It was no haggling. It was pretty straightforward, really.
So the original offer was 5 years. Sorry, Greg.
Yeah, it's always been. We never really discussed it. That's what we thought was the right thing for the club, and it was again using that word stability.
Was there ever a point you thought that you might not get there?
When I heard he'd been in Hawthorn for 4 hours, I was worried. I thought an hour or 2 would have been enough. But, so, yeah, look, at that stage I was concerned. And as you said, I sent him an email, but just reiterating how important he was to Richmond going forward and what an absolutely important appointment it is and was going to be.
Terry, if the Don Scott situation was always a potential deal breaker with Hawthorn, and given that Hawthorn spent the best part of 3 years trying to sort out the situation with Don Scott, how did you ever go into that meeting with any confidence that there might be a way that you coach Hawthorn?
Well, I think you go in there. I mean, I'm not saying that I went in there with confidence. I don't think that. Confidence and arrogance, there's not much between them. I think that all you'd ever do is you go into a meeting, see what the other party has to say and has to suggest, present your case to the best of your ability, and then see where that takes you. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, obviously I had some questions that I needed answered going into that meeting, and that was one of them. And let me just go on record as saying, I don't have an issue whatsoever with Don Scott. It's not a Don Scott Terry Wallace thing. I was down at his house for our 1978 Premiership reunion, so I haven't got any problem with Don Scott at all. All that the problem was that there was no, I suppose, the two parties here in Brendan and Clinton had at least got together and sort of allowed an easy passage, or a passage that was going to allow me to do my job. There was no indication of that from Hawthorn that was the case, and I went in to ask those questions, and obviously that had the waters cloudy because I couldn't get the answers that were going to give those assurities.
Do you envisage some serious list coming, Terry?
I think you would be kidding yourself at any side that's finished down in the bottom four on the ladder, that if you didn't think that was going to occur. I think you have to go down that path. I think that that the way the competition's set up at the moment is it allows you opportunity to have selections early in the draft, and I think that's got to be the way that we go. How deep that goes, well, I think that obviously that depends and is determined by trade period and where that goes. It's an ugly time of the year for players. The players here have had an ugly year for the 12 months. So, I mean, I can't make any promises to any player on the list. All I can try to do is make the promises to the players that remain that will have a better list going forward.
Terry, how do you see Richo and Brad Ottens in the context of you're now the Richmond coach?
Oh, look, I mean, I would be having discussions with Richo and Brad Ottens about where I see their football futures and where they lie before I'd be doing that publicly.
You promised to keep a priority pick if you get the Terry, or would you potentially try it away?
Look, I won't make any comments public about what I will or what I won't do in regards to that, but hence to say one thing, I think that supporters want to see their own players developed, and they want to be able to go to see their first games, and then they want to be able to have the joy of seeing their 250th game like they got the opportunity with Glenn Archer on Saturday. So if that answers it for you, that's my belief about football.
Did Nathan Brown play any role in luring you here, Terry?
Nathan's tried to play a role. He's been on the phone fairly regularly, and I mean that's the rumours and innuendo that go around football about there was jobs done 12 months ago that it was going to be a fait accompli that Wallace was going to follow after Brown. I mean, that's just all a nonsense, isn't it? I mean, really, it's interesting just the way that the paths have crossed. I think the fascinating thing about it was that Nathan Brown was very, very close to going to the Hawthorn Footy Club as well, and then detoured to Richmond. And I think the bloke on my left has probably got a bit to do with both the signings. So it's a bit of fate, and I think that's a wonderful thing. But so it would have been fate. Probably the bloke that I was almost closest with, who I thought had done an absolutely outstanding job and should take the job on as in a full-time capacity, is Jason Dunstall at Hawthorn. I mean, so either way, there was going to be a little bit of fate with somebody that I'm very, very close to.
How did you go when you told Jason that you weren't going to?
Not very well. No, I've got to say that the 24 hours wasn't easy at all, and it was particularly made difficult for the fact that it was someone that I'm so close to. So that was really, really difficult.
Will you talk to the playing group before the end of the season as a whole?
No, I don't think that there's any necessity. I mean, they've got a job to do. Danny's got his job to do. Obviously, with the announcement, they'll know where that's heading. Obviously, as soon as I can, I would sit down with them on an individual basis and collectively to do that. But I think to get in the way of what the processes are at the moment is not the right decision. I mean, this is an unusual circumstance. We were just talking on the way over here. We can't recall, and you guys probably have more knowledge of that. I can't recall a coach being appointed while the season's still in its duration. So it's been an unusual circumstance, but I think it's the right one for Richmond going forward, that the decision was made now, not left for 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay, thanks very much.